forgive me, I didn't get the whole public speaking thing that my mom got. On May the 25th, I lost my mom. Not only that, my son lost his grandma without ever really getting to know the amazing woman that I knew. She valued and treasured her family above all else, and she was there for virtually every milestone in my life. Through the good times and the bad, she always stuck by her two boys, championing and supporting us all the way. My mother died on May 25th, but I had been slowly saying goodbye to her for about 7 years. You see, the woman I knew was a force of nature, yet humble. She was a loving, compassionate, and forgiving mother, yet always ready to give guidance that I might not want to hear. Sure, none of y'all ever got any guidance from her. Anyone here? She was a brilliant and talented woman with many personal goals, yet always encouraging and helping me to become the best that I could be. She always found time for her sons. She always made sure that we had what we needed and a fair amount of what we wanted to. Then, about 7 years ago, she started losing herself. Dementia runs in her family. It was her greatest fear. First, it was hardly noticeable to most people. She just started to lose the ability to always come up with the right words and say exactly what she meant. Later on, she started to forget things, and eventually she lost the ability to speak. But she never lost her hearing or her sight. She loved seeing her grandson. She loved sitting in church. And even after she could no longer form complete sentences, she could still sing the hymns. She was still there, trapped in a body with a mind that had betrayed her. But her face still always lit up when we visited. The love was still there. I will miss seeing that love until I rejoin her in heaven one day. Now, enough about the end. This woman whom I was blessed to call my mother was so many amazing things throughout her life. She was an educator in all senses of the word. She taught me and Bradley. She taught class after class at the other. She counseled teachers and helped run a school as a principal. And perhaps most importantly, she helped guide people to Christ. People used to ask me if it was weird sitting in church listening to my mother preach. I would just smile and tell them, it's not that weird at all. I've been listening to her preach to me all my life. It was kind of funny, but mostly because it was true. I learned so much from her. I was her first child, otherwise known as the experimental model. She taught me how to read and write, add and subtract, long before I went to kindergarten. Everyone marveled at what she had been able to teach a 2 or 3-year-old. She was constantly learning herself, whether it was pursuing her master's degree or her seminary studies. There was never an end to her thirst for knowledge and personal growth. And there was never an end to her trying to pass that wisdom on to others. She had a column in the Kilgore News Herald, Minister's Moment, which she wrote for years, and which was reprinted for quite some time, even after she had stopped writing it. I'd like to share you a portion of one of those columns now from a book that my amazing wife made of several of these column entries. It's called We Should Use What We Have. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country, who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And then immediately he went on a journey. And after a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with them. So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents, and look, I have gained 5 more besides them. And his Lord said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. An anonymous writer has said, my small son and I were taking a walk. In the far corner of the field, we found a small patch of beautiful and fragrant flowers. In the middle of weeds, almost completely hidden and unnoticed. Yet those flowers were blooming in full beauty, and we sensed their fresh fragrance. All of us have met persons unnoticed by many, but who in the middle of struggle and unlikely surroundings, far from the center of attention, live lives of beauty and fragrance. In living lives which seemed obscure, they faithfully fulfilled God's calling for them. God's question to you on the last day will not be, how much were you noticed? Or even, how much did you do? Rather, his question will be, were you faithful in fulfilling your calling where I placed you? My mother lived one of those humble lives of beauty and fragrance, fulfilling her calling from God. I can picture her at his feet now. Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your Lord. I love you all.